Hi, and welcome to the little apartment on the prairie. Excuse me while I find Isaac a treat, because as always, he is starved for treats. I am making a corn pudding, which might sound weird. It's like a corn casserole. I think they call it pudding because it's got like eggs and milk and some cornstarch in it, like you would make a pudding. When I say pudding, I always think of like a sweet dish, like a dessert, but this is like a corn casserole. It's like a side dish. And I am a bit distracted, and I just spent forever looking for cornstarch, which I finally found. Because I made this recipe, a friend gave me this recipe, and I made it a couple weeks ago for the first time. Actually, was it a week ago? I don't know. I can't even remember. I forgot to put the cornstarch in it, even though I was thinking of it right up until I got to that step, and then I somehow just skipped it. So it came out a little more watery than it would otherwise be. I'll put the recipe down in the description if anyone wants to try it. It's easy to make, and I got some extra cans, used like 2 cans of cream corn and 1 can of whole kernel corn. Excuse me. And Sassy, I don't need your help. Here, Sassy. You get your head out of there. No Sassy in the corn pudding. I'm gonna drain this can. Anyway, I thought it would be a really good meal to make like over a campfire sometime in a big old cast iron skillet, but you can bake it in your oven. And a 2-quart casserole dish. Sassy's gonna steal a piece of corn. She is the weirdest cat. She steals vegetables from me all the time. Anyway, you've got eggs, melted butter, milk, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cornstarch, and then cream corn and regular corn. You stir it all together. I don't have my casserole dish ready, because like I said, I'm all distracted, and hopefully I didn't leave anything out of the recipe this time. But it doesn't require a lot of ingredients. It does, however, require eggs. It uses 5 eggs, I guess because it's a pudding. It's good. It's like a savory pudding. And I would call it like the ultimate comfort food. And that seems about right for me right now. Especially because we are having a blizzard today, like a real honest-to-God blizzard. I don't know how much snow we've had. First they were saying it was only going to be 2 inches. Now they're saying it might be up to 6 inches. But what makes it a blizzard is that you have high winds along with snow. And it doesn't necessarily have to be tons and tons of snow, although it often is. That's what I always used to think of when I heard the word blizzard, was lots of snow. And where I come from in Ohio, they will refer to something as a blizzard when there's lots of snow. And lots is relative. So, you know, in Ohio, like 6 inches of snow is lots of snow. You know, out here, like a foot of snow is lots of snow. In some places, 2 feet would be a lot of snow. In some other places, ½ an inch is a lot of snow. I mean, it depends. But they always would refer to something as a blizzard in Ohio when there is a lot of snow. But it was very unusual to ever get enough wind to have an actual blizzard there. Well, here we have the wind a lot of the time, even without the snow. But so, like today, there was wind up to like 30-some miles an hour with gusts. Like the wind normally was 30 miles an hour, and then there were wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. And this is an actual blizzard, not what they call a blizzard in Ohio. And my coffee pot turned off. So I got a new coffee pot. Well, a friend sent me a coffee pot. So I'm using it sometimes instead of my percolator. Well, I've been using the coffee pot anyway, and the problem is it has the safety device on it where it turns itself off after a certain amount of time. So I always used to just leave my coffee pot on all the time. I mean, like all day till I was done with the pot of coffee. Whatever I didn't drink, I would then put in the fridge and have iced coffee later, but until I was sure I was done with coffee for the day, I would just leave the pot turned on. Well, this pot wants me to be safe, and so it turns itself off periodically, and then I go back for another cup of coffee and find out my coffee pot is off and the coffee's turned cold. That's inconvenient. It does have a little timer function so that I can set it to start my coffee before I get out of bed in the morning if I want, which is quite nice. So I thought maybe, well, this is going to be a kind of disjointed video because my mind is still disjointed, but I am doing my best to pull it together. And I figured having something hot for supper would be a good start because I've been eating a lot of cheese sandwiches. Or this morning for breakfast, I ate cookies. Not that there's anything wrong with that. One of the nice things about being an adult is you can have cookies for breakfast if you want cookies for breakfast. And look, you see all those clean dishes piled up over there? And over here, it's like less disastrous looking than it often is. Although now there's cans and stuff there. Alright, I'm going to put the casserole in. And it bakes for an hour at 400 degrees. And it came out wonderful even when I forgot to put the cornstarch in it. But there was a little bit more liquid than there should have been. But I just used like a slotted spoon to dish it out. And it was okay. But if you can find your cornstarch. It took me a long time to find mine. Of course, I've got almost a whole box. But it took a while to find it. I did find that I have several types of cornmeal, which I hardly ever use. So I'm not sure why I have so much cornmeal. Maybe I thought it was cornstarch when I bought it, but that doesn't seem likely. Maybe I forgot that I had some and decided to buy some more. That seems more likely. And you may remember I did a video. Okay, this might have been close to a year ago. It was probably near the beginning of like the pandemic. But I did this video where I cleaned out my pantry and my at the same time I was organizing. I have a cupboard that I have all my baking supplies in. And I organized all that, and well, it's time to do it again, apparently, because it took me a long time to find cornstarch. Also, Sassy kept getting in the cabinet, and she was not helping. Alright, so let's talk about blizzards. And let's talk about the upcoming inauguration, which have nothing to do with each other, except they do in a little bit, because it goes back to kind of being prepared. And so we're having this blizzard, and I was going to run a couple errands today, not because there's anything that I need to get, but it's time to renew the license plates on my car. And so I was going to go do that. And it's also time to renew dog and cat licenses. Do you have to license cats where you live? I know lots of places license dogs. They license cats here in my little tiny town in Nebraska. When I moved here, I was so surprised to learn that was the strangest thing. I'd never heard of such a thing before. And I asked the people at the license place if anybody else licenses their cats, because I see cats running around outside here all the time that I'm not even sure if they live somewhere. I mean, I think they do, but like they're inside-outside cats, you know, they spend more time outdoors than indoors maybe, and they're not wearing like a collar and their tags. But I mean, my cats don't wear their tags either because, well, I asked Whiskers if she would like to wear a collar with a tag on it, and she said hell no, she would bite me. So I didn't even try and put it on her. But anyway, Isaac usually wears his, although he's not wearing it right now, and I don't know where it is right now. But I see all these dogs running around who don't have collars on or whatever, that are off leash, and I'm like, I bet these people don't license their dogs. And I feel sure that all these people are not licensing their cats. But anyway, it is $11 to license a cat if the cat is spayed or neutered. If not, it is $51. Or at least that's what it was last year. I'll assume it's the same this year. And I think the cost is the same for dogs. Isaac's license is free because he's a service dog, which is a city law in my town, but it's also a state law in Nebraska. And it's a law in a lot of states, although in some it only covers certain types of service dogs, like it might only cover a guide dog for the blind, or when I lived in Ohio, it only covered service dogs that were trained by a program. It didn't cover owner-trained service dogs. Although, I'm betting that the people at the dog license place didn't know those finer details. And so, it might well have been possible to get them to give you a free license for a service dog you trained yourself. When I moved here, the people at here you get your dog and cat licenses at City Hall, the same place where you pay your electric bill and do a bunch of other things. And so they did not know that the license was supposed to be free for a service dog. I had to show it to them on both in the state statutes and in the city, on the city webpage. And now they know it, and every year when I go in, they say, and he gets his free because he's a service dog, and I say, that's right. Okay, so anyway, blizzards. We weren't expecting a blizzard. Yesterday, they issued a blizzard warning. Like the day before, I swear, the weather report was just saying it was going to be windy. It wasn't even predicting snow. So, I know where I lived in Ohio, when they predicted snow, everybody ran out to buy milk and bread and eggs because apparently they're going to make French toast every time it snows 2 inches or more. And they never have the ingredients for French toast at home, I guess. I don't know. People don't panic quite that way here if they say it's going to snow because they're a little bit more used to it. And here, unless it's a blizzard, mostly people just go out and do whatever they were going to do anyway, despite however much snow there is. But, you know, weather can be unpredictable in the winter, so it's a good idea, even if you don't live in a place where you have blizzards often, to be prepared for winter weather. They were warning that power outages were possible. I don't know if anybody else in Nebraska has lost power due to this blizzard. I've had power all day. But, you know, I've got my sleeping bag that's extra warm, and I've got those emergency blankets, and I've got, you know, I've got food and water and stuff I don't have to heat to eat, and I'm prepared for whatever type of nasty winter weather we get. And it's nice because, what are you knocking over, Sassy? Knock it off. It's nice to not have to worry about not having what you need when the weather's bad. So I've done other videos where I've talked about like staying warm in the winter and stuff like that. And so I don't think I need, I'm not going to say the same stuff over and over again. But it's nice to be prepared when you get bad weather in the winter. And then let's talk about the inauguration. And for that matter, this weekend, I'm going to try to get this video up tonight. This weekend, they're talking about protests in all 50 capitals, you know, well, in the capitol buildings at the capitals of all 50 states. Yes, is the way to say it. And plus, of course, they're expecting big protests in Washington, D.C., where the National Guard is kind of camping out in the Capitol building now. And so my advice is to just stay away from the capitals. I wouldn't go to Lincoln, you know, this weekend, even if we weren't having a blizzard, and our blizzard will be over. It's supposed to be done by tonight. So, but you know, if you've got any need to go near one of the Capitol buildings in the next week for anything, I would try to reschedule that thing, whatever it is, and stay home. Stay away from crowded places. Whatever, you know, wherever you stand politically, you're likely to get caught in a dangerous situation if you're in that area. And it's not, you know, they're not asking people who they voted for before they, oh, when I say they, I guess, I mean, I didn't think this through before I start talking. When I say they, what I mean is people that are at these protests, and some of them are just there to protest. Probably the majority of them are just there to protest, but then you have other people, you know, who were in the Capitol on the 6th, who were there to commit acts of violence. And even if you're just there to protest peacefully and legally, when a protest turns violent, you risk getting injured, just like anyone else. And, you know, at the Capitol building, they weren't asking people who'd you vote for before they fired tear gas or threw objects or whatever. You know, so whatever side of the political spectrum you stand on, it's not a safe place to be. And I'm all in favor of people protesting. And, you know, you have a right, a First Amendment right to protest. And when I was younger, I've been to many protests. You know, I marched for gay rights in Washington, D.C. in 1993. I marched for gay rights in Cincinnati more than once, where I grew up. I participated in a number of Take Back the Night marches. I've been in pro-choice demonstrations. I demonstrated against the KKK, who used to put up this big cross downtown in the square in Cincinnati, where I grew up. I don't know if they still do that or not. They get a permit for it. And anyway, there were many times, many Christmases that they wouldn't put it up on Christmas, but like shortly before Christmas, they'd have a permit to leave it up for like 2 weeks or 10 days or something. Anyway, so I've been to plenty of protests, although it's been a while. And the only time I ever felt like one might get violent was one of the protests against the KKK. And they were one of the groups. There were several groups of people, I guess, that were there protesting, and one of the groups was trying to get people to go up in front where they were putting up the cross, and then some people were talking about trying to get across these barriers that the police had put up to protect the people erecting the cross. And this protest was at like, I don't know, noon or something. I had to go to work. I worked 3 to 11 then. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That sounds dangerous. I can't get arrested. I have to go to work this afternoon, and, you know, I remember one girl saying, my work would come and bail me out. And I don't know where she worked, but I was like, yeah, I don't think my work would come bail me out. I'm not doing that. So, you know, when it started looking like there was a possibility it could turn violent, I decided I was out of there. And it didn't actually turn violent either, by the way. But it looked like it had the potential to, and I didn't want to be involved in that. And I would recommend not being involved in it this week. Isaac's got a bone. He had a marrow bone today, and he pretty much got it all cleaned off, but he's going to lick it and see if there's any flavor left in there. Good boy, Isaac. You get that bone. But that's a good boy. Get your bone. Now I talked to him. He's like, wait, you got something better for me? He needs a good walk, and we can't go for a walk, obviously, because there's a blizzard. So in addition to avoiding places where you're likely to see protests that may or may not turn violent, you know, I would just make sure you've got enough food and water and medication and anything else you would need in your house to last you for a couple of weeks. Not that I think you're going to get, you know, trapped in your house for weeks, but that's kind of a good amount to have on hand at least anytime. And my plan is to kind of lay low and hope that things calm down after the inauguration. Again, no matter who you vote for, no matter where you find yourself on the political spectrum, hopefully at least tempers will cool down as we move past the inauguration. So that's all I've got for today. Let me know what's on your mind today. I'll put the corn pudding recipe in the description. You all stay safe this weekend. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And stay safe, friends.